E3 2019 has just wrapped up, and with it comes the crippling depression that follows. This has been a ho-hum year in the case of reveals, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't full of surprises. Please understand that I will only cover the games that I have an interest in because I only have so much time. If there's a game that you're interested in, let me know in the comments below. We have a lot of games to cover, so let's jump into what I'm looking forward to. Keep in mind that I'm still adamant about Jedi Fallen Order because of the game's ties with EA, for reasons most people will understand. With that said, the gameplay that was shown in EA's and Microsoft's events leave me with being more receptive than before. The story takes place between episodes 3 and 4, where the player takes control of a Padawan named Cal Kestis. The combat is reminiscent of the Dark Souls series. There's a dodge roll, an item that resembles an Estus flask, and the flow of combat that puts emphasis on movement. The developers take advantage of the Frostbite engine in order to create an accurate representation of the Star Wars films. Much like the new Battlefront games, Jedi Fallen Order looks, sounds, and feels like Star Wars. My only complaint is that the game feels somewhat generic, like the developers have borrowed some gameplay elements from other popular titles like Uncharted and Metroid Prime. I only hope that the gameplay that was shown is just one level and not just an accurate representation of the final product. Cyberpunk 2077 became the highlight of last year's E3, including mine. The E3 reveal trailer along with the gameplay demonstration that was shown months later made me want to know more about the world of the game. This year is no different, but not because of the gameplay, but for what, or in this case who, was revealed.
Wake the f up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
That's right, Keanu Reeves is going to be in Cyberpunk 2077. What made this moment better was that the man himself came to present the game on stage. This segment became a memorable moment for E3 2019.
Is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking!
While the game is going to release next April, I'm not going to buy the game at launch. The reason why I'm not buying Cyberpunk 2077 yet is because I'm waiting for the next generation of versions of the game. Regardless, I hope that everyone else gets to have fun playing Cyberpunk 2077. Doom Eternal's gameplay is about as much as I expected, a sequel that expands upon what made the original great. Throughout these series of trailers, the game has everything I wanted out of a Doom sequel. More weapons, more enemies in terms of variety and amount, and a more fast-paced, visceral experience. This variety is not limited to enemies, as the trailer showed that the player will travel to various locations such as Earth, Heaven, and Hell. There appears to be more traversal options for swinging around poles to wall jumping and using a grappling hook, which could open up to more options in combat. Along with the standard multiplayer modes, Doom Eternal features a new mode called Battle Mode. How original. Where two players play as demons and defeat a player-controlled Doomslayer in a set of rounds. I can't wait to see more information about this game in the next few months. Of all the games shown in this list, I'm definitely going to play Doom Eternal once it comes out on November 22nd. Watch Dogs is a series that I wasn't too interested in at first. When I did try out Watch Dogs 1 for the first time years ago, my first impressions were, well...
If CTOS doubles their guards, I better double my weapons.
Admittedly, I wasn't invested in the story, and the character was more boring than watching paint dry. The sequel was much better received, from what I've heard, but it didn't capture my attention. When Watch Dogs Legion was announced, the same feelings came up again. This time, however, it felt different, because the game now has an interesting mechanic where there is no central main character. Instead, Legion lets you play as any non-playable character in the game. My interest in Legion has risen as soon as I saw the gameplay reveal. The idea of playing as literally any NPC is something that is not visited often in gaming. To see this in practice intrigues me more than what the other past games in the series offered. Based on early impressions made from the press and other attendees at E3, I want to learn more about this game before jumping the gun. There was a lot of information that was released for Final Fantasy VII Remake, so I'll go over the highlights. For one, we get to see how the game works. In the past, Final Fantasy VII had a turn-based tactical combat system. Now, the combat is a combination of other Final Fantasy games in the past, like the stagger system from Final Fantasy XIII, and the real-time combat featured in 15. This remake will not only be a two-part series, but the first part is so large, it requires 2 Blu-ray discs, even though the game takes place in the city of Midgar. For comparison, the original Final Fantasy VII came in 3 discs, disc 1 being the entirety of Midgar. I'm going to assume that the next part is going to be so massive in scope, it may not even release on the PS4 without any sacrifices, and just release exclusively on next-gen systems whenever part 2 comes out. I honestly can't believe that this game is finally releasing early next year. A year ago, it seemed like a dream that it would come out anytime soon. Now, people are playing a demo at E3. The wait will soon be over. Months prior to E3, there were several leaks that suggested what characters were going to appear in the Smash Ultimate DLC roster. The first was the Dragon Quest hero. This character doesn't have an established name because the hero encompasses a group of other heroes that you're able to play as in the series' long history. The Dragon Quest franchise is a long-running RPG series in Japan alongside Final Fantasy, so to see a representative like this is understandable. What surprised me more, and this was a personal wishlist character I made in my last video, was the inclusion of Banjo-Kazooie. To say that everyone lost their mind at the reveal is an understatement.
Yeah! Fuck yes! Yeah! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh my god!
To better understand why this was such a big deal, Banjo-Kazooie is a series that made its debut on the Nintendo 64, created by the legendary studio Rareware. In 2002, the studio was purchased by Microsoft along with their IPs like Banjo. Since then, the thought of Banjo appearing in a Nintendo platform seemed like an impossibility. Until now. It's thanks to Banjo being in Smash that I might consider getting a Switch. Rapid fire, go! Bleeding Edge. Judging by the gameplay trailer, this game appears to be a mixture of Anarchy Reigns and Overwatch, and I am very interested. Anything that's similar to Anarchy Reigns, I'll at least try out. Thankfully, there's going to be an alpha test soon, so we'll see how this game actually plays by the end of this month. Phantasy Star Online 2. Of all the games on this list, this is a game that caught me by surprise. Phantasy Star Online 2 is an old game, but only released in Japan back in 2012. There were supposed to be plans to release this to the West, but never came to fruition. To see this game back into the spotlight warms my heart. Also helps that this game is free to play, so I got a reason to try it out. Halo Infinite. There was no gameplay regarding Halo Infinite, but what I took away from this reveal was that this will become a launch title for the next-gen Xbox system. I wanted to know how the game will play instead of a few-minute cutscene, but oh well, not everyone will get what they want. 12 minutes. This game is a thriller where the premise is about a man stuck in a time loop and must find a way to get out of it. I'm a sucker for thrillers, and it seems like this indie title is right up my alley. Ghostwire Tokyo. Okay, let's get this out of the way. The creative director, Ikumi Nakamura, is so adorable, it hurts.
Thank you. ありがとうございます。It's spooky. Let's take a look. 見てね. Thank you. Bye bye.
With that said, the game has an interesting concept. While it's just a CG trailer, I don't doubt the director's abilities on creating a game. She was involved in the art for Okami and Bayonetta, and became the lead artist for the Evil Within series. I wish her luck for the development of the game. Deathloop, from the studio that brought the Dishonored series, comes an entirely new game. It's another CG trailer, but it tells the story about 2 individuals who are hunting each other down stuck in a time loop. Wait a minute. I have more questions and answers, but I believe we'll hear more about this and Ghostwire next year. If I have to be honest, this has been an odd E3. A majority of the announcements and trailers have mostly been CGI and less gameplay demonstrations compared to years prior. The most gameplay we have seen came from games like Final Fantasy VII Remake, Doom Eternal, and Watch Dogs Legion. Gears 5 is coming out in early September and has the least amount of gameplay shown during the Xbox briefing. Granted, they have shown more after the show, but I think there was a missed opportunity to show off the campaign and a bit of the multiplayer offerings. Speaking of which, as mentioned before, Halo Infinite, which is an important franchise for the Xbox platform, only has an in-game cutscene for its trailer. In terms of presentation, Bethesda has the oddest press event I have witnessed. In order to get an idea on what I'm talking about, listen to this.
I've almost been at this company for 20 years. And when I first started,
at first, this seems alright. I mean, they're excited about what's to come from Bethesda. But then Todd Howard comes and talks about Fallout 76, and a camera cuts to a crowd shot, only showing several people standing up and cheering. No one else was cheering. This scene is better understandable with context. Last year, Todd Howard revealed a game named Fallout 76, which is a multiplayer spin-off to the single-player series. To make a long story short, the game was not very good. Promises were broken within and outside of the game, and many bugs and crashes ran rampant to the point where a bug could break your console. I recommend watching the Fall of 76 in order to get the full story of the game. Anyway, the cheering continued throughout the event, where the crowd continues to interrupt the speaker mid-sentence.
And we'll see you in hell.
I'm not saying that the small cluster of people were paid actors, but it seems odd to cheer for every single little thing the speakers have to say, even when cheering for nothing. Throughout this piece, you may have noticed that I have omitted a certain major player in the gaming space. That's because Sony has opted to not participate in this year's E3. This was such a big deal because the company was a part of the event for as long as E3 has existed. This is the first time in nearly 25 years that Sony isn't present in any form. I honestly thought they would show up via their State of Play videos they started a few months back, but that doesn't appear to be the case. With a major player in the console space not even participating, this would have made Microsoft take advantage of the situation and fire on all cylinders, but they didn't. It was a missed opportunity to climb out of the pit they dug themselves into since this gen started. This E3 was somewhat underwhelming, all things considered. There were a few surprises in games that I'm looking forward to, but it's not as mind-blowing compared to years prior. I'm willing to believe the reason why this year was underwhelming was due to one particular reason. We are very close to the transitional period for the next generation. Both Sony and Microsoft have unveiled a snippet of what's to come for their next consoles. Streaming seems to be the next big thing, with Google Stadia and Microsoft's Project xCloud being officially revealed. I have mixed opinions regarding the features and capabilities of the service, but that will be saved for another time. Once E3 2020 rolls around, you can be certain that these companies won't hold back, and many new game reveals will happen. Before the Xbox briefing, I sent out a tweet, link in the description, saying that if anything Perfect Dark related gets announced this year, I would make videos regarding the series and the development studio Rare as a whole. While it's not a new game, something did happen. During Xbox's side event, Inside Xbox, it was revealed that a majority of Rare's games will receive an Xbox One X enhancement update, including the Perfect Dark series. At this time, I didn't know that Banjo-Kazooie would become DLC characters for Smash, so I'm in a tough spot. Should I make a review based on the Perfect Dark series, or the Banjo-Kazooie series? I'll still make the video related to Rare, but the choice on what series to review is up in the air. I'll leave a Twitter poll on my Twitter page so you can vote on what you want to see. I'll leave a link to my Twitter in the description so you can check out my feed and vote for what you want to see. Until then, this has been Opez Gaming, signing out.